Hello everybody, this is Will Sellenrod and welcome to another episode of Story Behind the Collector. Today we're in a secret location. I cannot disclose where we are, but we're going to show you a very special collection of vintage racing Porsches from the years 64 through 69 and the incredible history behind them. We're going to be talking to the grandson whose grandfather raced these cars, and I think it's going to be a pretty cool interview. I think you're going to find it pretty exciting. So let's go inside and meet James. Very nice to meet you. Thank you so much for inviting us in.
Oh, my pleasure, Will.
So tell us about this collection. I mean, it's just absolutely stunning. How did it get started? What's the history?
Yeah, absolutely. My grandfather is a racing fan, and then he started racing on his own in the late 50s. He was stationed in Germany and just took a love to it. He came back here, kept racing, started his own car business, and he raced for Porsche. So his name was Joe Bozzetta, and he was a factory race car driver for Porsche in the mid to late 60s. And he had driven most of the classic Porsches, or if not all of them. And he gained a good reputation as someone that would.
And the plastic Porsche era was from what period?
Really throughout the 60s. So there were any of the cars that were made out of fiberglass. That's why they called them the plastic Porsches. But anyway, he had a great reputation as someone that was a quick driver, but someone that brought the cars home safe as well. The factory loved that. And now we're car dealers. He started a business for us in 1962. It grew into us having 5 stores. My family and I run the business now since he kind of passed it off to us. And he just left a legacy with, not only great race cars and a great story to tell, but his business and a lot of employees, and we're just all a big family. We love this.
Well, and we love hearing this story. I mean, it's so incredibly cool, and to listen to how he started, which is really back here with these 2 Porsches, right?
He started with the car on the right over here, which is a 356 convertible D. So he bought himself one of these.
Now, did he buy it brand new, or did he?
Brand new. Yeah, he ordered it. So he started with one just like this. And he raced the car. It was pretty reasonably successful.
And he kept it stock, right?
At that time they would do little things like he took the bumpers off, the hubcaps off, stuff like that, just to try to lighten the car. But he kind of went all around Europe with it, racing it a little bit, and unfortunately he had a bad accident and totaled the car. So once that happened...
Now, did he have seatbelts when he was racing?
He probably had just a lap belt. But again, he was on a mountain, and he just, he head on with the truck, and unfortunately had himself an accident.
Now, that was not this car, though, right?
It was not this car. This is another one that's.
So that car is out of the picture.
I'm told it's in Austria. So it's built up. It doesn't look anything like it did when he had it, but it is out there. So someone probably took the chassis and just built something, But he had one of these, and he told me that when he was in the hospital, he actually ordered another one from there. So he did that, and although the convertible D was the successor to the Speedster, which is the car to the left of you, that is the car he ordered. So he ordered a Speedster. So they were really discontinued at that point, but they mentioned, or at least he tells me that they mentioned they had 2 bodies left, 2 aluminum bodies left, and they made him a Carrera Speedster. So he has the second to last Speedster ever made. And that's not this car. This car is one this is a regular Speedster. That car is actually part of the England collection, North Carolina. He bought a Speedster, which looks like this.
So this was his second acquisition after the accident, then?
He had the accident with this car, and then he bought a Speedster after that.
Got it. Yeah. And then these have since been restored.
These aren't the actual cars. These are ones, but yeah, these cars were restored in the 90s.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh, very nice. And are they still driven then today?
Every now and then we take them out just to kind of burn some gas and get the fluids going a little bit. But
I like the simplicity of these, James. I mean, you got basically 3 key gauges, and that's pretty much it, right?
Yeah, not a lot going on. It's a pretty simple car. If you were to open the trunk of it, there's not a lot of electronics. It's just whatever they had in the 50s. And they're really, really easy, nice cars to drive as well. Kind of good for going around town. And they didn't have a lot of power. I mean, they ranged from really 60 to 90 horsepower. If you got a Carrera like he did, it was around between 110 and 120 horsepower, and that was best case scenario.
Yeah. And then this Speedster, then what makes the Speedster special? I mean, clearly we see the windshield's lower.
Right. Yep, absolutely. I mean, there were two different body styles initially, the coupe and the convertible. But the Speedster was something that was kind of a Max Hoffman influence on Porsche. And he had mentioned maybe do a Speedster, but just something, a convertible or something that's just a little more sporty. And that's how they came up with the Speedster. So yeah, you see the lower windshield. I always love the taillights. This is one of my favorite.
Oh yeah, with the little like bullet taillights.
Really, really cool. Like, and then just kind of more of a sleek look. You know?
Yeah, and the seats look different, right? They're more of a sports seat.
Yeah, yeah.
But other than that, the horsepower is the same, right?
Yeah, depending on which variant you got, you could have gotten the standard 60 horsepower. You could have gotten the Super 1600, which I believe had around 75 horsepower, or the Carrera would have over 110 horsepower.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great.
The Carreras work extremely right. That's the 4 force on the engine.
And so then, how did your grandfather make the transition from these cars in the 50s to what we're going to see real soon, which starts around, what, 1964?
Well, yeah, he came back to America with the Speedster, did some SCCA racing, and did pretty well with that. And at that point, he kind of got a little more serious with it. He opened up a shop on Smith Boulevard, which is Competition Imports, which is where we get our name. And him and his partner Oscar went out racing. Oscar worked on the car. My grandfather drove the cars, and he eventually graduated from this to an RSK. A 718 RSK, which is also a 4-cylinder engine.
Okay.
So he drove that for a bit, and then he went to the RS60, which is a longer chassis, a little bit more stable. And then after that, he went to an Elva Porsche, which is a car we also own today. You won't see it today, but it's a car that we also have. So that was in like 64, 65 in the US RSC Championship that he raced those cars. And his talent was kind of recognized as a driver that not only was fast, but someone that would bring the car home safely, which was important for the factory.
Yeah. So was he sponsored by Porsche?
He was hired as a factory race car driver.
Okay.
So he was one that was under contract from them to do. And he primarily stayed with the US races, but he did go over to Le Mans and Nürburgring as well.
Great. Yeah. Okay, James, so this is the first car your grandfather started really racing outside of those Porsches we just looked at, right?
Yeah, the two 4-cylinder 356s. So yeah, my grandfather, his name was Joe Bezzetta, started driving for Porsche. In 64, he drove Sebring with them, but then in 65 and 66, his career really jump-started a little bit. And this car was important because at that time, it was their current race car. This is chassis number 005. So this is the 5th car. It's a factory car. The factory cars and the privateer cars.
So the way we see it today was set up by the factory?
Yeah, I mean, listen, this car was also restored and raced a lot. So race cars are usually never original. They've all been rebuilt. Every race they have to be rebuilt, really.
Yeah.
So I mean, this car has been restored. But yeah, no, this is chassis number 005. It's largely original. It's known to be one of the best 904 examples out there. But it's the 5th one made out of a run of about 110, 120 made. So this was a factory car. These cars were lightly streetable, they were really good at tracks like the Targa Florio in Sicily. And
but you typically wouldn't drive it to the track.
Sometimes they would,
really?
Again, the primary advantage of that was the road courses. So this car was actually entered in the Targa Florio twice, in 64 and 65, and this car is the Targa Florio winner overall in 1964. So this car is a Targa Florio winner. It also raced at Nürburgring in 65, DNF there. And in 66, they brought it over to America for the first 24-hour Daytona race. So that was in 1966. That car is known in that race rather is known in the movie Ford versus Ferrari, where Ken Miles made the agreement, whereas if he kept racing, if he kept winning, he could keep racing with Ford. So in that very race, he won the race overall, but in the 2-liter class, my grandfather won with this car, him and Gerhard Mitter together. If you watch that movie today and watch the scenes from Daytona, you'll notice that there is a silver 904 green hood number 16, and that's this car. So they didn't use this car in the movie, but they replicated it.
Okay, and I noticed the wheels seem bigger on the older, as I look down the line, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but Is there any theory behind how the wheels are bigger now and then they get smaller as we
Yes,
climb
we'll
up the
definitely
years?
talk about that when we get 2 cars down. But yeah, these are just similar wheels to what they would use on the race cars. Keep in mind, they wanted to. This was a marketing strategy for them, so they wanted to use parts from their road cars on their race cars. And the biggest example of that was the 2-liter 4-cylinder or 2-liter 6-cylinder that this car
Okay.
had.
And this is the 6?
This is a 6. So this car started life, it's technically not a 904.6. This car started out life as a 4-cylinder, has the 4-cam 4-cylinder, and then later on it got the Carrera 6 2-liter 6-cylinder. So as it sits right now, it should be making between 210 and 220 horsepower, which for this car is a lot.
Yeah, it's got to be really light, right?
Yeah,
the power to weight ratio has got to be.
It's strong. I drove this car at Porsche's Run Sport Reunion 2 years ago at Laguna Seca. It handles amazing.
Okay, now we're up to 1966. So tell us about this car.
Sure. So this is a Porsche 906, otherwise known as the Carrera 6. And this was kind of an evolution, but one of the big differences is that they really wanted to make it a purpose-built sports car. So now you'll notice the ride height's a little bit lower. The whole car is lower for center of gravity. You see the roof of the car here is kind of at the same height as our hips, maybe even a little bit lower. So, this is more of a purpose-built race car. No street application here. This is,
Would you call this a mid-engine car?
It is a
compared
mid-engine
to
car.
a rear-engine car?
So now instead of the 4-cam 4, we see a 2-liter 6-cylinder is standard in this car.
Okay.
So in this application, it makes about 210 horsepower. So it's this car did very well for them. It did a lot of racing. This is chassis number 103. So this car, after he had raced at Daytona with the 904, they went to Sebring with this car. He drove this car with Hans Hermann. And as Miles won that race in the GT40, my grandfather won that race in the 2-liter as well. So they both kind of did that, which is kind of neat. But yeah, so this car was 4th overall, which for a 2-liter car is amazing. I mean, a lot of 6-7-liter cars in that race. So it was pretty amazing that they kind of engineered their way into some great performance and great reliability.
Yeah, I could see how much more aerodynamic this is. And then you also have the spoilers on the front. So
that was an add-on. Not all of them had that, but it was
Okay.
definitely something that helped with downforce, especially here in America.
yeah, because what kind of top speeds are you attaining in a car like this?
It vastly depends on how the car is geared. These would typically see a roof of around 165 miles per hour.
Okay.
But they could be geared to do a little faster than that. At Le Mans 66, they also changed the body work, so there was a long tail configuration of the car. And those cars, I believe, would be close to 180 miles.
Do you think as we go down the line of Porsches that the cars themselves were driven progressively faster year over year over year?
There was huge leaps and bounds from one year to another year. It really made for an amazing development. And you'll see in a moment that the change from 64 to 69 in just 5 years is just, it's drastic.
Okay. Well, let's take another look then at the next car here. This looks even lower. Maybe that's not lower to the ground, but they seem real similar in terms of design cues, right?
Sure, absolutely. I mean, this is a 1967 Porsche 910. So this car raced for the 67 season. Not a lot of these were made at all. I believe the number is 29. This is chassis number 14. So it's kind of halfway in the production run. It was a factory car. So it was a car that was made for factory racing. But this car is really an evolution of the 906. It actually, it handled a little bit better. The engine is the same 2-liter, a flat 6, except in this application it makes 220 horsepower. It's a little more power. The weight was a little bit less, but one of the key differences, especially for the driver, was the removal of the roof. Now a taller driver, especially in an endurance race where they're changing drivers, taller driver can get into the car. But one of the most important things that you'll notice here are the wheels. So if you take a look at the wheels here, you have the 13-inch magnesium wheel, and this also has a center lock. So what's very important about that is that it's not only a lot faster to get the wheel on and off, but one of the interesting things that they were able to do here is make the wheel and tire itself quite a bit smaller than what you would find in the 906. And what that enabled them to do is that if you sit on the ground, it gives you a pretty good perspective of the height you would have as a driver. And if you look at the 906, you can't see over those fenders. So you basically have a blind spot in front of you at 2 and 10 o'clock. Right? So with this car, it drastically gets reduced because now the height of the wheel enables them to lower the fender. So now there's really no blind spots with this car. It made the 910 a much more drivable car.
Was there any sacrifice in performance with the smaller wheel?
Not
or tire?
particularly. They were able to kind of engineer their way around it. The brakes on this car were still fantastic. If you ask any factory driver or driver with experience, they'll tell you the 910 was just a great car to drive. This was really one of their darling cars. One of the biggest acclimates for this car, as well as my grandfather, though, was that Porsche was very serious about winning the Nürburgring that year.
Okay.
And they hadn't done it. So they had brought 6 of these to the Nürburgring that year, 3 6-cylinder examples and 3 8-cylinder examples. That was an experimental car that the factory had. They used an engine that was derived from their Formula One car, and they brought them there. They played a little bit of cat and mouse. The 8-cylinder cars are fast. The other cars are trying to keep up, but those big V8s didn't have much of an advantage at Nürburgring.
Because of the turns, right?
Right.
It's more of a performance handling.
Much more intimate
course.
track, much more intricate track. So the 6 cylinders, after the 1,000-kilometer race, the 8 cylinders dropped out. The other cars may have crashed, and they were doing pretty well. They were leading the race, and my grandfather was fortunate enough to win the race for them. So my grandfather, paired up with Udo Schutz, was the winner of that race. Porsche's first victory at the Nürburgring at their home circuit.
Wow.
And it was in a 910 just like this one. The car that he won it with is down at the museum in Naples with the Collier collection.
Well, your grandfather, what a great history he's having with Porsche at that time, right? And
Absolutely.
being the first one to win the Nürburgring for Porsche.
Yeah.
That's very, very significant.
Absolutely. Yeah, he had close ties with them, and he had just a great relationship with everyone there. One of his favorite stories is that he was teamed up with another driver at the Nürburgring to race there, and they were a pretty similar height. My grandfather was around 5'8", but at the last minute, like most factories do, there was involvement to say, hey, we're going to do a driver switch. We want a German in every car. In case we win this thing, we can say a German driver won it in a German car. Very important nationalism for them. So they did that, but the issue was that they paired my grandfather up with Udo Schutz. Udo Schutz is about 6'2". So when you look at any photo from the race, you know who's in the car, because my grandfather has the open face helmet with the aviator sunglasses, and Udo's head is sticking out of the top of the car.
Yeah, that's great. What a great story.
Absolutely.
Do you have film from that period?
There's a couple of things on YouTube that we have, but we have plenty of photos. Yeah, photos are a little bit more popular at that point. And
Yeah.
I'll show you those in just a moment. The poster's right there, though, the car up in the air. That's at the famous Flugplatz.
Oh, yeah. That's very cool. Okay, now we're on to this Porsche here, and it definitely looks like a faster car. I mean, It looks like it's got a V8 in it just to start, right?
Yep, it's a flat 8. They were into those flat engines. So this is a 1968 Porsche 907. This is chassis 023. So they made around 25, 26 of these, I believe. And this was a hugely important car for Porsche at the time, because now they're graduating from being in the 2-liter class to going up into the 3-liter class. So now they're kind of the getting to the next level. So this was an 8-cylinder that produced around 275 horsepower, much faster. They applied the long tail application to this car too. So when this car was raced at Daytona or Le Mans, they were seeing speeds of around 190 miles an hour.
Wow.
So they were pretty quick.
And I'm seeing the drivers on the right side here.
Yep, that was just something. Now you're kind of in the middle of the race course, so it was kind of I guess just a preference for them.
So it didn't really have a bearing on weight ratio or performance. It was just kind of a personal preference.
From what he told me, and maybe there's another answer for it, but I think it was just a preference.
Okay.
I think most of the other cars were right-hand drive in that class as well. So there may even have been a class restriction as well. Keep in mind they're going to a different class now. So.
Yeah. And how did this car perform then?
It performed pretty well. This was kind of the first crack at the 8-cylinder minus the Formula One and some of the experimental 910 and 908s. So this was kind of something where they did have some mechanical issues with the car. And what they did was, since the car was still a good car, they changed the engine on the car and a couple of other things, and they called it the 908. So that was halfway into the 68 season that they changed from the 907 to the 908. And the 908 was kind of the revision and a much more successful race car. This car really only raced for a half a season.
Okay, but it's definitely a flat 8.
Yeah, it's flat 8. This is a 908. So this particular one's a 69. So although they started halfway into the 68 season with the 908, this one's a 69. This is chassis 026. This car actually started life as a coupe that looks just like the 907 we just saw. and it was a long tail, so it had the long tail configuration. And this was really just a revised version of the 907.
Okay.
And they did very well. My grandfather raced them at Daytona. He raced one at Le Mans. And these cars, he said they were trapping over 200 miles per hour with the long tail.
Wow.
So now we have a 3-liter flat 8 and it's producing around 300 horsepower.
Did your grandfather prefer the open cabin versus the closed cabin? Did he ever comment on that?
All the drivers, I think, preferred the open cabin. But this isn't something that they started doing until pretty deep into the 69 season, from what I understood. Once those long tails and the coupes weren't really current anymore, and the 917 started coming into play, the 908 still had a place because they were lighter and just better for the more intimate courses like the Nürburgring and some of the other smaller courses, the courses that we have here in America. So they actually took some of the coupes, took the top off, shortened them a little bit, and made them into these. This is a 908-2. So
Okay.
this was a 908-2 conversion that the factory did. And then they started just making 908-2s. So it's a much more usable car, better visibility, just better handling, lighter. And for pretty much any track here in America, maybe with the exception of Daytona and maybe Sebring, for any other course here, this was a much better car.
You know, as I look at each one of these cars, and I look at the interior, and I look at the structure of the seats, I mean, comfort was not a priority.
Yeah, I mean, listen, they definitely wanted the cars to be bearable, because keep in mind, these guys are spending 24 hours in these cars, so
Yeah.
you know, they wanted them to be decent. But right, I mean, it's obviously not going to have a lot of the amenities that any other car has.
I mean, these seats are raked back pretty far, right?
Yeah, no, they definitely are, and you're almost laying down in them too. I mean, you're not really sitting upright. That's another thing that you'll notice when you take a look at it. But with the 907, they started with cooling, with having like the vanes that run through your suit, the cool suit.
Oh yeah.
So that was something that they started. They were definitely trying to make them a little bit more comfortable. But right, I mean, it's not a pedestrian thing.
Okay, and the wheel size has increased a little bit over some of the earlier models.
Yeah, just a touch. They're fairly close though. But you'll notice that the rear wheels on either of these cylinder cars are going to be definitely wider than what you would find in the 910.
Yeah, definitely wider. But again, the theory is to keep the fenders low, right? And that's why you have the lower diameter wheel.
Yep, absolutely, to increase visibility. Absolutely, and it was lighter, so that was good too.
Mm-hmm. Now, what kind of gas would these race cars typically run on?
At the time, I'm sure they had kind of their own cocktail of what they were running, but you know, now we put racing fuel in them. So you know, we'll put like a unleaded 110.
So if you start any of these up, and they all run because they've all been restored, you're going to run racing fuel in these?
Right, correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like anything.
And I'm sure they don't like to idle. So.
No, they don't. They'll do it, but it's not ideal.
Yeah.
Usually you're better off just turning it off and then turning it back on once you need to get going. I've gone to concourses before where they say, wait here for 5 minutes. I'm like, okay. And then you say a prayer that it's going to start up again when you're done.
Yeah. Do you do any vintage racing with these?
I've run the 904 at the Porsche Run Sport Reunion, and my uncle runs that car pretty regularly.
Okay.
So that car is just running really well, and it is set up just right. The rest of the cars haven't really been driven. My grandfather drove the 910 quite a bit in vintage racing. You know, and that's something he did. He bought a lot of these cars back when he was, I guess, more of an entrepreneur and able to kind of keep them going, and ran them just for the sport of it. And he did a lot of vintage racing, ranging from probably the late 70s up until about 10, 12 years ago. Yeah.
So we completed the Porsche collection from 64 through 69, and that was incredibly interesting. I mean, your grandfather really did some fantastic things, won some races.
Sure.
That's just an awesome story. And there's some other cars here too, so let's take a quick look at them. What do we have here?
This is a 2012 Mercedes SLS. It was a car that kind of came out around, I think, late 2010 as a 2011 model year. It was a really neat car. He liked it, so he ordered one. This one's a Designo Alabeam, so it's a special order color that he got, is with the Designo two-tone red on black interior and the carbon fiber. So it's a car he ordered, then he never drove it. So we parked it here. It's got 37 miles on it. I run it around the parking lot once a year, and that's really it. But one of the best parts about the car are the doors. They open and that's kind of a nod to the Dual 300 SL that you see right next to us. So it's kind of a retro feature that they made work for this car, and it makes it a total icon. And then the other fan favorite part is the engine. It's got an M159, which is that loud, naturally aspirated 6.2 liter V8. In this application, I believe it makes around 570 horsepower, and it sounds amazing.
Yeah, it's a really long hood.
Yes.
And you know, this car just looks so much more massive than the 300 SL that it was really designed from. But when you see them side by side, they're not that big difference in length, right?
The dimensions are fairly similar. It's surprising.
Yeah.
Obviously, anytime you get a more modern car next to its older counterpart, like the
Yeah.
911, if you put an old 911 64 next to a 2025, it's going to be double the size. We always make that comparison because I have an 87 Carrera Coupe, and my father has a 2024 Targa, and we put them next to each other. It's like double the size.
Yeah, but when they're apart, they look completely
Yeah,
different
but
sizes.
you're absolutely right. These two are fairly close.
And this is just absolutely beautiful. I mean, this is a bucket list car for me. I have to say, I love these 300 SLs.
So
What
pretty.
year is this one?
This is a 55.
Okay.
So they had come out with a road version of their race car, because keep in mind, I believe it was 1952, Mercedes won Le Mans with the 300 SL. It was a race car. So they come out with a street version of it, which is this. And then another Max Hoffman influence, he got to Mercedes. He was their distributor at the time for the US. And he had said to them, listen, it gets hot in there, and I can vouch for you, it gets very hot in there when you're driving it for more than just a few minutes.
Yeah, no air conditioning. I mean, this is just
Absolutely.
a completely sealed cabin.
But he mentioned to them, he said, you should really make an open-top version of the car, and that's what they did. So from 58 to 63, they made the open-top
So
version.
these windows do not roll down.
They do not. These crack open, but if you go driving fast enough, it just blows them closed again, so it really doesn't do much.
And then how big is the engine?
It's a 3-liter inline-six.
Okay.
So although it's not a big honking V8, it made about 250 horsepower. It's fuel injected, which is kind of unusual at that time, and it is such a fast car. You know, it was one of the fastest cars in the world. I mean, you had the Jaguar XK120, which was one of the fastest cars in the world after World War II, and then this kind of upped the ante a little bit. It was known as one of the first supercars.
It's just beautiful inside. I mean, the dashboard with the chrome and the different colors, the ornamentation.
Yeah.
It's just a beautiful car.
Of course.
So now we get to the open version. So is it essentially, so this is what year then?
This is a 58, but they made these from 58 to 63.
Okay.
And this, as I said before, Max Hoffman had the influence, and he mentioned to them, you should make an open-top version of the car. It would make it a little bit more comfortable to drive, and they did that. And these are really just...
And these are European headlights, right? Is that the difference between those headlights and these?
The Roadsters, they always had the bigger... I believe that you are correct that these are European, but the Roadster always had the bigger headlight. The Gullwing always had the smaller one, and the 190 SL had smaller ones like this as well. Just keep in mind, they made a more pedestrian version of this car called the 190 SL.
Yeah.
Totally different chassis, but it was an SL at the same time, and those had smaller headlights as well.
Any idea which of these cars is more popular with the collector community, the Roadster or the Gullwing?
You know, I mean, most people that have no experience with them would tell you that the Gullwing is, and the Gullwing is the more beautiful car. And I agree, I love the Gullwing the most too. But if you decide to really drive the car, then the Roadster would probably be the favorite. Among values, though, the Gullwings typically pull a little bit more than the Roadsters do.
And then we move over here and we're back to Porsche. This car looks special. Love the color on it, James.
Absolutely. This is a 1973 Porsche 911 Carrera RS 2.7 lightweight. So this was a homologation for the racing 911 in 1973. The RS stood for Rennsport, and that was kind of the designation that they gave to their racing 911s. And they made 1,600 of them in 1973.
Worldwide?
Worldwide. None for the U.S. market, but 1,400 of them were touring cars that still had some of the creature comforts and amenities. 200 of them were lightweights that had no radio, no air conditioning. They had a couple of weight-saving features. These rear windows are kind of a plexiglass material, and the rear deck lid is fiberglass here. So they had a couple little things like that, the racing harness along with the bucket seats, fiberglass bumpers. So it was really this was kind of the more the hardcore standard in terms of.
Did they do anything
RS.
to up the horsepower then on the RS?
Yep, this has the 2.7 liter. So if I remember correctly, I believe it has over 230, 240 horsepower, somewhere in that vicinity.
Okay, and you have the weight savings.
Right. So this was really the most hardcore 911 variant at the time. Pretty comparable to a 911 GT3 RS like you would have today, but rarer and definitely. This to drive is highly coveted amongst anyone who has great experience with 911.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of collectors who try to replicate this.
Right, and the style with the ducktail, everyone loves it. This is a 1934 Ford V8 Roadster. So this was really a premium product. He fell in love with this car. He saw it for sale in Maine, and he loved it because he comes from the hot rod community. You know, when he was a kid, he was involved in the high school hot rod club. And in his mind, finding a stock unmodified V8 Roadster was a treasure. So he bought it, and it's neat. It's got the flathead V8. It has suicide doors, so you see that doors open backwards.
Oh yeah.
One of my favorite things, which is like totally foreign to most people about this car, that was the rumble seat. So if you go into the back of the car, you can open this up here, and you'll notice that you have another seat right in the back of the car over here, and you have two little things on the fender here that you step on and get right in. Really, really funny concept. You run out of space, so you just make your trunk into two more seats. He would take us out in this car, which is funny because he lived in a hilly area. So you get a little bit of back of the bus syndrome with this car.
Okay.
So you hit a bump, you're kind of on the rear axle here, and you just bounce up. That combined with the fact that there's about a foot of cushion in there, and you've got a sharp metal edge in front of your face, wasn't a great combination. But in 1934, the safety standards were a little bit different. But it sounds just like a modern day Ford V8, which is pretty funny to me. You know, obviously it's a little bit different, but you can hear that same soul.
Yeah, and it's a solid car. I mean, this is very thick steel.
Yes, this is not a lightweight car at all, not like the RS. So this car is really built for the long haul.
That wraps up our great interview here with James. Thank you so much. What a fantastic collection. All these vintage racing Porsches, and then the Mercedes and the lightweight and the Ford. Just a great time we had with you. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Come back anytime.
Okay. We'd love to.